Well, the deadline for Canadian Union of Postal Workers and Canada Post to make a deal is quickly approaching. CTV's Scott Hurst joins us live with more on the negotiations. Let's talk about where things stand as the clock is ticking.
Jamie, here's the latest. We have the two sides are still talking in the nation's capital, trying to hammer out a deal as the threat of a potential strike inches closer with every passing hour. So we do have a statement from Canada Post. We have reached out to both sides to get updates, see if there are any specific updates in the bargaining process. And here's what we have specifically from Canada Post, saying both parties are at the table and talks are still ongoing. Talks are happening in Ottawa. We'll continue to keep you updated. Our goal is to maintain service to Canadians, even in the event the Canadian Union of Postal Workers initiates rotating strike activity on Friday. So that's the word from Canada Post that we got just a short time ago. Still waiting for a specific statement from the union, but the two sides are inching closer and closer to when postal workers could be off the job as early as tomorrow morning. Both parties have said they want to avoid service disruptions, but they've been bargaining now for close to a year. Postal workers are pushing for better wages and working conditions and improved rights for temporary employees as well. Meanwhile, Canada Post has highlighted its significant and dire financial situation, saying that it's been losing about $490 million in the first half of the year. So that is looming large over contract talks as we inch closer and closer to the possibility of postal workers off the job as early as tomorrow morning. Now, this is something that small businesses are also keeping a close eye on as these talks progress, and also charities across the country are incredibly worried as well in terms of what it could mean for them. Here's more from the Hope Mission in Edmonton, commenting on how a potential Canada Post strike could impact operations.
A lot of our supporters are of an older demographic that still write checks and still send them in envelopes through the mail and comes to our gift processing center. And so an interruption to postal services impacts us quite significantly.
And Jamie, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business is also chiming in on the potential work stoppage here that could begin as early as tomorrow, saying it's disappointed for the potential of yet another work stoppage impacting small businesses across the country. It goes on to say that a strong majority of small businesses, about 80%, rely on Canada Post services to do business. And the CFIB says 3/4 of small firms say they could be negatively impacted by a work stoppage here. So lots of Canadians, lots of small businesses, as well as those at the bargaining table, are trying to hammer out a deal in the hours left before a potential work stoppage, Jamie.
We recently saw the federal government step in to, force binding arbitration with the disputes in Vancouver and Montreal. Can we see the same here?
Well, Jamie, we've seen the federal government do that twice already this year with the twin rail strike earlier in the summer, and also just a short time ago, last week, of course, with the port strikes. But at this time, the Labour Minister says their plan is not to get involved in these contract talks.
CTV's Scott Hurst, thanks for that report.